NAMM 2012 news brought to you by Groove 3.
Hey, it's Russ here from Air Users Blog. I'm with Lev Perry from Universal Audio, looking at the great new Apollo interface. Great announcement, a lot of excitement already, lots of buzz. Just tell us about, can you tell us about the vision first? Because obviously you've been a effects and plugin manufacturer in the past and using external processors to take the load. So is this a kind of natural progression for you guys?
It absolutely is. One of the biggest requests from our customers is to be able to use our plugins in low latency, and Apollo really delivers that. We're getting sub 2 millisecond latency, analog to analog, with all of our plugins. So that's a really, really big thing. People can use it in a tracking situation, they can use it in a live sound situation, and again, we really feel like our algorithms really set us apart from the pack. You can literally track through a Studer tape machine, a Neve console, an SSL desk, right to disk. You don't have to commit if you don't want to, but you still have the ability to do that, and it's a really great story for our customers.
But obviously effects, we're talking about effects here, but this is an interface too, isn't it? Which is an audio interface, and one of the first Thunderbolts out there as well.
That's correct. It's actually the first dedicated, Thunderbolt audio interface on the market that we know of. There's a couple other peripherals that are kind of video, hybrid products, but this is tailored for engineers, musicians, people who make music. Thunderbolt really does some great things for us. You slot in an option card, and then you get PCIe performance out of the box, which means lower latency, more plugins. And what's really cool though, it's got FireWire 800 on the box standard. We actually let you use those FireWire ports as a hub over Thunderbolt. So you can plug in things like U82 satellites or a FireWire hard drive that you might have, just to increase the connectivity of the box. It's a really great story.
So Thunderbolts have been a discussion. It's recently we've seen an announcement about Thunderbolt that it's now coming to PC, which makes it platform agnostic. What was the choice for UAD to go Thunderbolt?
It's a really interesting question. I mean, the most fundamental importance of Thunderbolt is that it worked already with the IP that we already had. We have PCIe products, we have FireWire products. The great thing about Thunderbolt is it carries those protocols over the cable naturally. So the actual transition of getting there was much, much less than if we were to go with some other next gen, who knows if it's going to be around standard. The fact that Apple adopted it was a really great comfort for us. A lot of our customers are Mac customers. The fact that we're now seeing it on PCs is great because obviously we have a huge PC contingent as well. So that's really the big thing. It was really the best choice for us because it had the best performance and had the best backwards compatibility with all these great technologies.
Now I know you're not going to comment on other vendors, but there are some rumors about Apple dropping Mac Pro, and I'm sure it wasn't part of the decision. But does this make that future-proof now?
I think that's the great thing about Thunderbolt. I mean, the layman thing that people say about it is it's PCIe over a cable. Of course, it's not our party line. We think it's much, much more than that. But it really does allow for different form factors than you've ever seen on computers. It used to be you'd have a big tower, PCIe slots, and it had to be this big mammoth thing. But we're running this box off a MacBook Air, which only has one Thunderbolt port on it. Doing that, we've got 2 Thunderbolt ports. It expands your Thunderbolt I/O. It's got FireWire, which a MacBook Air doesn't have. So I think the answer is yes. I mean, the computers that are out there, they're changing because Thunderbolt allows them to have all of the same, low latency, high bandwidth performance that you would see in a tower, but in these much thinner machines. It's really great.
Now, Lev, our main audience is Pro Tools users. What are the benefits for a Pro Tools user?
Well, I mean, the great thing is that Pro Tools, they opened up with Pro Tools 9 and continued in Pro Tools 10 to Core Audio. This is a Core Audio interface or an ASIO interface on Windows. And so it can be a total amazing front-end, back-end solution for any Pro Tools rig. So you can add it to Pro Tools, it connects via Thunderbolt or FireWire, and you get the advantage of having the low latency plugins on input, and it's a U82 inside, which means you can just instantiate plugins inside Pro Tools, and they run right off the box, just like a U82 satellite or a PCIe card would do. So again, it's for a Pro Tools user. I'm a Pro Tools guy myself. I just love the combination of the two. They've recently in Pro Tools 10 added low latency monitoring, which does a smart thing when you record enable. You don't hear both the low latency path and the software monitor path that does the right thing. Works beautifully with Apollo. So again, as far as tracking is concerned, it's an amazing thing. Another great thing that we did, we have a mixing console application for the box. It represents all of the inputs in a beautiful tracking desk. We did a really smart thing where if you hit the space bar, it'll actually pass it to Pro Tools. So you don't have to flip back and forth between our mixer and Pro Tools. Really, the interface for this feels more like a plugin that's just integrated right in. So again, for tracking, mixing in Pro Tools, there really isn't a better interface on the market. Because on top of all that, it's the best sounding interface that has ever existed in this price band.
So just to be clear, I'm assuming that unlike Apogee, who kind of have done a kind of backward reversed engineered, taking some of the Apogee interfaces so they work like as a pseudo HD system, this is working in a native environment.
This is, so the story doesn't go away when you talk about an HD native or an HDX card. this thing will still work alongside it as a DSP accelerator. You wouldn't use the I/O pass, but the great thing about Pro Tools 9 and Pro Tools 10 is you can change the playback engine on the fly. So even if you've got those cards installed, go to the playback engine, flip it over to our driver, use the front end for tracking, flip back to HD or HDX or HD native, and continue using their interfaces, but still get UAD processing inside of Pro Tools. It's actually a really cool workflow.
Okay, let's talk about it out the box. What's it shipping as out the box?
So cool question. There's actually two versions of the box. There's a Duo and a Quad. They're only differentiated by their DSP. They have the same I/O, they have the same Thunderbolt option bay, but the DSP is different. So the Duo version is going to street for $19.99 US MAP. That's the street price. And then the Quad version is $24.99 US street price. So very, very good pricing for what you get in the box, for the power that this thing provides, and most importantly, the latency and sound quality performance that you're getting. It's unmatched.
And what's that? What are the input and output configurations?
Tons of I/O on the back. So you're going to get 4 microphone preamps, 8 line in and 8 line out, 2 high Z inputs. There's 8 A to D converters. So the first 4 you kind of choose which input you want. 8 channels of line out, 2 channels of monitor output. So 10 real outputs on the back, not mirroring 1 and 2 for the monitor output. The front panel also has 2 headphone outputs with their own D to A. So they're individually addressable from software. So from Pro Tools, you can literally set up a Q mix and send it right to headphone 1. Beautiful workflow. Also 10 channels of digital, 8 channels of ADAT light pipe, 2 channels of SPDIF. Word clock I/O is standard. I think that's all of the I/Os without looking at the back panel. That's a pretty full-featured back panel.
So there's a lot to come out the box and room to grow.
Definitely, and that's really the important thing. I mean, customers have all different sorts of instruments. They have outboard gear, they've got keyboards and whatnot. We wanted to make sure there was enough I/O to connect to this. The ADAT port gives us a way to connect external conversion, to get more analog inputs if you need it. So it really is built to scale to your studio.
Well, Lev, that's been really good. You've obviously swatted up on this. You know your stuff on it. And thanks for giving us one of the first views of this and a first conversation about it. I know that Pro Tools users are going to be excited as another option. Another great thing from UAD. This is Russ from NAMM 2012.